Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
There's so much we can do if we work together as a world. You know, remember that movie Independence Day where invaders were coming from outer space and the whole world was united against the invasion? Well, why can't we be united on behalf of our planet?
A crisis of leadership. We've been talking about this all week. But what if there was some sort of outer space crisis? An alien invasion sounds crazy, perhaps, but then who thought we'd ever see the stock market swing 5% a day all week long? So maybe it's not as far-fetched as it sounds. If aliens invaded, who would step up to lead us in that fight, and could we even win?
If we discovered that space aliens were planning to attack, and we needed a massive buildup to counter the space alien threat, and really inflation and budget deficits took secondary place to that, this slump would be over in 18 months. And then if we discovered, whoops, we made a mistake, there aren't actually any space aliens.
So we need Orson Welles, is what you're saying.
No, there was a Twilight Zone episode like this in which scientists fake an alien threat in order to achieve world peace. Well, this time we don't need it. We need it in order to get some fiscal stimulus.
Former government UFO expert is warning that Britain is wide open to alien visitors and that the consequences of not monitoring extraterrestrials could be huge.
Now, I'm wondering if there can't be an upside to all this. I'm a big fan of the original Star Trek series, and it was only when, there were alien civilizations that seemed to challenge the Earth that you found that the Earth got its act together for the kind of global governance that all the visionaries say we need that if we're going to deal with climate change, if we're going to deal with all the modern issues, global finance, where the sovereignty of individual nations is actually a political barrier to solving these big problems.
The London Guardian did go with a report that NASA officially has said that space aliens are going to attack the United States and the entire planet if we don't pay carbon taxes to Al Gore. That is not satire. That is not a joke. I know it's insane, but do not blame me. Do not blame me because it sounds insane. That's how dumb they think you are. There it is, London Guardian. Aliens may destroy humanity to protect other civilizations, say scientists. Rising greenhouse emissions could tip off aliens that we are rapidly expanding threat, warns a NASA report.
If only we were afraid of alien invasion, then we would do the right thing. Nobel Prize-winning economist and New York Times columnist Paul Krugman made a related argument this weekend for economic policy. Krugman arguing that the U.S. government needs to spend some money doing some stuff to employ people in order to stave off a double-dip recession, in order to get the economy going, and we have to do it soon. And he argued on CNN this weekend that if we had to invent a fake invasion of space aliens in order to get the government to do that, in order to motivate us to do some economically stimulative government activity, then fine. Frankly, fake space aliens have been used for worse in the past.
Good morning. My name is Carol Rosen. In 1974, after being a sixth grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space." And I said, teachers don't stop until June. He said, "No, you have to understand, this is February, and we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies," he said, "against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids." And then he would repeat to me over and over, "And the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat." Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject. And now we hear on the news just today, this week, that they've slid in another enemy. Only this time we're going to protect our satellites. In other words, we have to have some reason to spend these trillions, to waste these dollars on a space-based weapon system, and they're all lies. This is a system, he told me, that would never protect anyone. Even back then, he talked about suitcase bombs. He talked about chemical, viral, bacterial, biological warfare that these space-based weapons would never protect us against. And then he told me that, in fact, if you travel around the world, which I did after he died in 1977, I met with people in over 100 countries who were friends. They didn't want to build space-based weapons. I became a space and missile defense consultant. And I worked with people around the world. I became an advisor to the People's Republic of China. They don't want to build a space-based weapon system. And he told me back then that they didn't. He said, go to Russia. They're considered to be the enemy. I got on a plane by myself. When I got to Russia, I had a list of people that I had read out of the newspaper. Chernenko was in office then. He was the only one I didn't get a chance to meet. They introduced me to everyone when I got there. And when I got back, I said, oh my Lord, this man is telling the truth. There is no threat. And I've been waiting until this day for 27 years, and I'm expecting the spin to happen, because he also explained to me that as a military strategist, as a person who worked on the MX missile, which I did later, he said, you will find that there is going to be a spin to find some enemy against whom we have to build space-based weapons. And now we should expect the spin, because he said part of the formula for the intelligence community is if they might have a weapon, then we have to consider that they do have these weapons. So now they do have these weapons, so now we have to build these weapon systems. And that's the formula, except that it's all based on a lie.
Sunday. Curiosity continues with an all-new question.
Can we survive an alien attack?
Experts in astronomy, military theory, and physics will uncover that the impossible attack is possible.
The attack might just be beginning.
Michelle Rodriguez hosts Alien Invasion, Are We Ready? On the next Curiosity, this Sunday at 8, only on Discovery.
The idea of an alien invasion, of an alien civilization attacking seems crazy, because basically the idea of aliens seems crazy. But the thing is, the idea of an alien intelligent species living on another planet really isn't that crazy at all.
The chance that there is life that originated and evolved elsewhere in other solar systems is certainly possible. There's a chance that some of that life became intelligent.
I think there's essentially 100% probability that there's other life, even within our galaxy. Certainly in the universe. The universe is extraordinarily huge.
In our own backyard, there are 100 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And our telescopes can see perhaps 100 billion galaxies out there. Do the math. That's 10,000 billion stars. And to think that we are the only game in town? Come on. That's the height of arrogance.
We challenged the top minds in biology, military strategies, and astrophysics to predict what would actually take place during an extraterrestrial invasion. The scenario they came up with is both cataclysmic and possible.
Most people still hold the view that an alien invasion would be traditional invasion, shooting down fighter jets and buildings with the ray guns, but it's probably much more sophisticated than that. First of all, it would be a global attack. When you invade a planet, you're not going to be invading the US or Russia or Japan, because to aliens, we seem like ants. We're all alike. What is much more practical is to launch a global invasion.
Remember, the aliens probably don't want to take out the entire planet and everything living on it. And after all, they came all the way across the galaxy to our planet, probably because of the biosphere that we have on the planet.
They have to take care of us without harming the biosphere in the process. The way they can do that is to focus on the one thing that we are dependent on that the rest of the biosphere is not, and that's technology.
A shared chemistry presents the possibility that an alien life form may be more like us than we could ever imagine.
In some ways, extraterrestrial life would be likely to resemble us because sometimes there are only so many solutions and there may only be so many building blocks for certain problems. For example, if you want to be able to live in the air, an obvious solution is to evolve wings. And of course, that's what the insects did, that's what the pterodactyls did, that's what the birds did, that's what the bats did. They don't all come from the same origin, but they've all come up with the same solution to get their bodies up in the air.
I think if they're like us, that could be a bad thing. We're a very warlike species. Does evolution transfer culturally? If they're like us, that could be a very bad thing.
3, 2, 1, launch, launch, launch. Ignition.
Do we have the capability of attacking an extraterrestrial spacecraft in space? Certainly we can attack it.
Guidance is on. That'll be a supersonic.
We do have the capability of firing missiles at such a spacecraft.
Time to impact, 20 seconds.
The question is, what type of weapon do we launch?
Our most powerful weapon currently is the hydrogen bomb. It's only about this big and is capable of wiping out, for example, the entire New York metropolitan area within a fraction of a second.
Some people think, let's nuke the aliens. Well, it's not so easy. A nuclear weapon on the Earth creates a shock wave that then travels a little bit faster than the speed of sound, pulverizing everything in sight.
But in space, there is no atmosphere. There's no medium to transmit the shock wave and the heat wave, so the effect is much diminished.
Detonate in 3, 2, 1. Mark.
That was our best shot. No, it's not. We have one more option, but it's never been used.
If one wanted to shut down the technology part of our civilization, computers and the electronics, one way to do that would be to subject the whole Earth to an electromagnetic pulse.
EMPs, it stands for electromagnetic pulse, is a huge blast of radiant energy.
And that radiation is so intense, The electric fields are so great that it short circuits your electronics, and it would basically wipe us out in terms of electronics and send us back 150 years into the past.
Pacemakers would stop, your car might stop. Most cars have electronic ignitions now, so they would be disabled. Wouldn't be too good for aircraft either.
Oh my God.
So maybe the worst part about an EMP attack would actually be its effect on our communication systems, our cell towers, radio systems, shortwave radios, leaving us isolated from each other in ways that we haven't seen for a very long time.
The last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens, and all of it, he said, is a lie.